What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. So look, y'all, I just finished watching Unsolved Mysteries. I watched the case of Alonzo Brooks after I was on Instagram, and I saw in the shade room they were talking about this case about this young man that went to this party and he never came back home. He left with his friends and didn't come back home. He didn't leave with his friends, right? And then I'm like, okay, first of all, Unsolved Mysteries was a show that I grew up watching with my older brother. We used to watch it a lot. We used to be in the room, and it was just something that he would watch. I had no idea that they did a reboot of the series until I saw my lady watching it on Netflix. So I was like, oh man, I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries. Okay, cool. Anyway, but when I heard about this story, some told me, okay, let's go back and watch this story here, this case here, right? And let me tell y'all something. This story did something to me. Seriously, it struck a chord with me. It really, really struck a chord with me. When I see Alonzo Brooks' mother talking about the death of her son and his disappearance after the party, and I hear the pain, the anger, and frustration in her voice, like, I can't imagine what that woman is really going through, knowing that she sent her baby out with his friends out to a party. She's thinking it's just another normal day, and he never comes back home. That no parent want to ever feel that type of pain ever in their life. I'm a parent. I never want to experience that a day in my life, ever, right? But my parents, you know what I mean, my father and my stepmother experienced that whole thing when my brother was murdered. And this hit home with me because Alonzo Brooks was murdered in 2004. He died in 2004. He was murdered in 2004. My brother was killed in January 2004, and his body was found in May of 2004 after he was disappeared for like a whole month. He disappeared on like April 4th of 2004. So, you know, I can imagine the pain that she was going through. Now, so let me just break down the story for those who don't know. Alonzo Brooks was, I believe he was from Topeka, Kansas. He spent a lot of his life in Topeka, which I heard them explain it was more of an urban setting, you know, in Topeka. His family then moved to Gardner, Texas, right? And, you know, they moved to Gardner. And he had settled in Gardner for a while. He was playing sports. And he started to make friends playing sports. And naturally, I think he described Gardner was a different population. So the majority population in Gardner was Caucasian. So, of course, it's normal for him to have white friends and friends of other ethnicities, especially when your ethnicity is a minority in this town. Alonzo Brooks his mother looks to be Hispanic. His last name is Brooks though, and they describe him as a black man. And he has black features. So I'm going to assume that we can comfortably assume that his father was African American, his mother was Hispanic, right? Half black, half Hispanic man. So he has friends of different ethnicities, perfectly fine, normal, right? They all, you know, living in life as kids growing up in his town. One day they decide to go to a party. They go to a party an hour away from Gardner, an hour away in a town they had never ever even heard of. He packs up with his friends. They describe this party, his friends describe a party that they're going to. They didn't even know whose party it really was. They were just going because they heard it was going to be this big party. This guy was going away to the military. They had to go to check this party out and have a good time. That was a strike to me. When I was growing up, my people, and I'm not faulting, let me make this clear. I'm not faulting Alonzo Brooks for what happened at all, right? But I'm just telling you some history about how I grew up and how I would have thought about the situation. I was always taught to never go to parties where you don't know who party it is, because you don't know what crowd that person invites. You don't know what type of people are going to be here, what are their background, like what are they, good wholesome people, are they people that's shady? You never know, right? Then to go to a town that you never ever heard of, that's a scary thing. In a place like Kansas that has rural areas, it's a chance that you're going to be going into a small hick town, a place where a black man is not going to be welcome. And I know it's likely in a place with Kansas where they got all these rural areas, because it's very likely in Illinois. I'm living in Chicago, Illinois. That's where I'm from. It's places that I will never ever try to go to a party to in downstate Illinois, because driving through, going to school in Mississippi and going to school in Arkansas, driving through them areas, you can just tell, hey, this is a different environment, and people, they're not welcomed of my people in this town. They looking at us crazy. You can just tell I would never go to them areas. But nonetheless, they go to the party. He leaves with his friend Justin, and they pack up in groups of people. They go out to the party. When they go to the party, they describe that Alonzo was excited to go to the party. He comes in, they start drinking. He's been inebriated, so he's acting a lot differently than what he normally acts. Not a lot differently, but they're saying he's not acting a lot differently, but he's more, he's enjoying himself. He's enjoying himself. He's embracing the environment. He normally was a real quiet guy, they said, but he was embracing himself, embracing the environment because, he had a few drinks in him and he was just having a good time. He wasn't obnoxious or anything like that. I don't want to slander that man's character at all. I'm never going to say that. So he wasn't obnoxious or nothing, but he was just enjoying the party. And the party, his friends described that at one point he gets into an altercation with a man in the party. They have a certain type of altercation, words get exchanged back and forth. The friend gets between Alonzo and the other guy. They say, hey, it is what it is. Cut this out. It's not going to happen. We're here to have a good time. The party commences. So eventually, at some point, Alonzo starts to hear racial slurs thrown in his direction. People start saying racist things to him. And, they said, hey, well, we grew up, we didn't even recognize color, and it was what it was. Strike two, right? Now, this is what I say when people always say they don't recognize color. I want to explain this as best as possible. Right? Now, you can say you're not racist, and that's cool, but to say you don't recognize color, that's not, you gotta recognize color. You have to. In Alonzo's case, you're a black man. Your friends there are Caucasian. They can afford to have a nonchalant attitude towards racism. They can afford that. They're not black. They're not going to be subject to things that you're going to be subjected to. When you go into a different town, a hick town, they're not gonna be subjected to the same type of treatment that you are. So they can have that nonchalant, hey man, it's okay, it's all right, man. People are just rude, forget them, ignore them. You can't afford that attitude. They said Alonzo, after the stuff went down, Alonzo was like, hey man, I'm not gonna let that get me down, or something. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but they was like, he was just really like, hey man, it is, don't worry about that, we're gonna continue having fun. It is what it is. I'm not gonna, it don't bother me, let's go ahead and keep having a good time. Black people cannot afford to have a laissez-faire attitude towards racism. We cannot. We got to take it very, very seriously because, like, when you're in an environment where and they describe at the party, Alonzo was the only black person there. When you're in an environment like that, and you're in a small hick town, and people are throwing racial slurs at you in every direction, you're outnumbered. There's a chance that something very bad can happen to you. Very bad. Even if your friends are with you, y'all are outnumbered. You got to take that seriously. And if I was Alonzo, I would say, look, we got to go. We got to go. I can't be in here. We were doing them with exchange words, but we got to get up out of here. And his friend should have said, hey, we got to go, Alonzo. This is not a good environment for you to be in. Alonzo was inebriated, so he possibly couldn't have been, making the best possible decision. He wanted to just stay at the party because he was having a good time before all that stuff happened. I don't know if he was drunk. I can't say he was drunk. I'm not going to tarnish that man's character. But they said he had been drinking. So possibly he could have just been like in the mood to just have a good time or whatever. The friend should have said, hey, you not safe in this environment. We got to get you up out of here. Instead, they continue to party, let the stuff go on. And it's the thing too. I noticed with some black people, when they have their group of friends are predominantly white. Sometimes they try to take on this persona where, racism is, they ignore it because they don't want to they don't want to make their friends uncomfortable talking about race. They don't want to make their white friends or non-black friends uncomfortable talking about race. And they don't want to seem like a wussy when racism gets brought up. Because, other ethnicities tell black people, hey, get over it. Get over it is what it is. A lot of other ethnicities tell us that. Get over it. Ignore it. It is what it is. It's part of America, but you can just, hey man, just keep enjoying your life. It's not going to stop you from doing anything. It's not going to stop you from achieving anything. They say that a lot. Listen, it's not going to stop you in your life. Listen, it could be life or death for black people. Right? I'm sure for other ethnicities too, it can be life or death for other minority groups or whatever. Or other groups of people in general. But I'm a black man, so I'm going to speak for it as for me, right? I know when it comes to me and my people, when we in an environment where we are looked at as like we are not welcomed, We are looked at like, hey, what is he doing? What is he or she doing here? We got to get up out of there. We can't afford. We don't know what's going to happen to what's going to happen to us. We know this is not the town that we are from. We're not supposed to. This is not a town that we are familiar with at all. We don't know who is with who. We don't know if some of these kids in this town are sons and daughters or nieces and nephews of sheriffs and police officers. They could possibly do something to me and get away with it. So we can't afford that at all. We got to take it seriously. We got to get up out of there. But I know I've noticed that it's a lot of black kids, when they have a lot of non-black friends, they don't want to seem like the party pooper when racism kicks off. They don't want to seem like a wuss in front of their friends. Oh, they want to just act like hey man, it doesn't get to me, let it rub off their shoulder, because they feel like that. I think that sometimes they feel like their friends would want them to take that approach to it, or that's the approach that their friends would have to it. So they try to take on their persona. Hey man, it's cool. It's no big deal. No, it is a very big deal. It is. So let me fast forward past this story, right? Not fast forward. Let me fast forward past that moment. So at some point, Justin, him and Alonzo, they smoked. The friend went to go get some cigarettes, right? Some of their friends already had left the party. Alonzo came with Justin. Justin goes to go get some cigarettes, and he says, "Hey man, I'll be back. Stay here." That's a red flag. I don't know what Justin was thinking about. You know what I mean? I don't know Justin, so I can't say nothing about his character, and I don't know. I don't know him at all. But I feel like at that moment, you know your friend had racial slurs thrown at him at some point in this party. You know somebody tried to fight your friend at some point. Why would you leave your friend here in this environment, knowing that he's been drinking too? You don't know these people. Why would you leave your friend there? If he wants cigarettes, have him come with you. Have him come with you, and y'all go get the cigarettes that y'all want or whatever. But don't leave him up in there with them people that he does not know and that were already throwing racial slurs at him. That's not a smart thing to do at all. Nonetheless, Justin goes and leaves. I think his name is Justin. I hope I'm remembering the friend's name right. Justin goes to go get the cigarettes. He says he makes a wrong turn. He's supposed to go left instead of right or something like that. But he goes 30 minutes out. He goes 30 minutes out from the direction that he was supposed to go. And he gets stuck in gravel and all this and all of that. So he calls another one of their friends that was at the party with Alonzo. Oh, I'm sorry. Justin said another friend was there with Alonzo that they knew. So he said, so Alonzo wasn't there alone, but he was still outnumbered for sure. And I don't know how well this other guy knew Alonzo like that. Anyway, so because he wasn't on here to talk on this episode, this story of Unsolved Mysteries. He said, look, man, I got stuck. He said he heard Alonzo in the background cracking jokes, talking mess about him being stuck or whatever. And so he said, hey, take Alonzo home for me or whatever, and he gonna keep going. Now, my man, I'm thinking, why wouldn't you just go back and go get Alonzo yourself, and then y'all go head home together because you picked him up? You know, why would you tell him to go drop him off, and you just gonna go home after that? You gonna just go home, and after you get stuck in the gravel, you just gonna head home? I don't know, something about that was like, huh? I didn't understand that. I would have went back and go get my friend and make sure he went home. He says the guy that he called his friend was like, okay, I get him home or whatever. He agreed to taking him home, right? So he gets home, they leave, and the next morning, don't nobody know where Alonzo is. They call his house. Is Alonzo there? He's not there. They're looking around. His mom looking around the house. She cannot find him, and she panics, as any mother would do, right? And so they know that he's missing at this point. Alonzo's best friend, a black kid from Topeka, he hears about it and say, wait a minute, how did y'all leave him at that party? Again, how I was raised. If I'm going somewhere with any of my friends, we're not leaving a party unless all of us are all together. We're not leaving in groups, and we're not leaving it, oh man, I'm gonna leave right now. How long you gonna stay here? I'll see you tomorrow. No, we all leaving together at the same time. Hey, we gone. We don't know these people here. This is in a town we not from. Again, Alonzo was being called all type of racial slurs. Why leave him there? Why leave him? Even with the other friend, they are outnumbered. It's just him and Alonzo and the other dude, and maybe probably one other person. Still outnumbered. Get them out of there. You're supposed to leave with the people that you came with. Make sure he gets home. His mother couldn't understand that. How did y'all leave him at this party? How did y'all leave him there? right? So the black friend hears about it, the one from Topeka. He says it was his childhood friend. He said, you know, I'm going to go to Lacine. He goes and he finds both of Alonzo boots spread out in each different direction, and he finds his hat. And automatically he knows something is wrong. Something's not right. He said a guy told him he needed to get from over there eventually, and he knew something is not right. And what's so eerie about it is 2020. I think this was shot in 2019. The friend's walking through the town, and he says, I got to get up out of here. I don't feel comfortable here. I don't feel comfortable here. It let me know that some type of, it's like he sounded like some type of racial tension is still there in that town. And it's evident, and it's probably thick. And he got to get up out of there, right? And I'm sure, of course, that'll combine with the bad memories he gets from going and go searching for Alonzo. But it sounded like he know that town is not welcoming of black people, right? So they find his boot and all that. They go to the sheriff in town. And when the brother, Alonzo's brother, and Alonzo's brother, sister-in-law, go to talk to the sheriff is like, oh, man, you know, he's probably just doing kid stuff. He's all right, man. He'll show up. He'll show up. One thing I don't like, too, it tell you got to wait 48 hours to declare a person missing. But the mother, like, I know my son. He's not going to stay out. That's outside of his character. He's not going to stay out all night and not come home. That is outside of his character. He's not going to do that. He's not going to just stay out and just party. He's going to come home. So I know he's missing. They didn't take his word for it. And what the sister-in-law made a great point. Where is he going to go with no shoes on? No shoes on, walking around, and it's been raining outside. And he's like, oh, he probably got drunk walking down the highway. The sheriffs and all of them people were too dismissive of things to me, right? They were too dismissive. And one thing I wanted to point out, you know, in the part. So after they searching for him, they can't find him. They got cadaver dogs out there looking for his body. I mean, they got all type of, the Kansas Bureau of Investigation is out there. I think some FBI came out there with them. They can't find anything. They can't find no trace of Alonzo. It's been weeks and weeks. He's been gone for a while, so it's very, very eerie. So, you know, the parents, the family is like, can we go search? Can we search for him? Can we help? They're like, no, you can't search. It's up to us. We'll do it. Right? And so they go and do it. No, and they still can't, they still, you know, they continue to find they continue the investigation, and they can't find Alonzo at all. I want to point this out too. When the brother and the sister-in-law came into the town, the brother said he felt the stares at them when they came in town. People were looking at them like, what the hell are y'all doing here? Why are y'all in this town? Looking like you need to get up out of here. So that was definitely a town where a lot of racism was thick. And even the Justin's friends, the white guys that were at the party, they said, hey, you can tell racism was heavy down there. Racism was a place where racism was going on down in that town. You could tell. They knew it. So something going on, right? The FBI and them can't find Alonzo at all. They let the family go out and search for Alonzo's body. They find Alonzo immediately, within 30 minutes of searching. Now that to me was just very, very strange and very eerie. Right? How the cadaver dogs couldn't find him, but nobody could find him at all. None of the FBI, none of them Kansas Bureau of Investigation, none of the police could find him at all. But he turns up within 30 minutes of the family searching for him. And so one of the brothers says, you know what? I think, he said, it was quite odd. He said, I think the sheriff may have possibly told somebody, hey, we're going to let the family. In a small town like Lacine, it sounds like a very small town. And they describe it as a small town. Everybody knows everybody. The sheriff possibly told somebody, hey, we're going to let the family go search for him. That person, he told somebody that they were going to let the family go search for Alonzo's body. That person told somebody else, and it eventually got to the people who had Alonzo's body. And they knew, hey, they're going to come, the family's going to come looking for his body, and they decide, okay, we're going to let them find him, or they just let him be found at that point. And I believe that body was just placed out there. Eventually, you know, when it was time for the family to start looking. And that to me rings a bell. Because remember when I was describing in a town like that, when things like that happen, again, I'm not accusing that police department of doing anything at all. I'm just saying that these things could happen. it can be happening where a person may have found out, somebody in a position of power may have found out what happened, but they know the person who did it. They know that person's parents, grandparents, they grew up with this person's family, and they didn't want this person to get in trouble, so they kept sweeping the investigation along, or they weren't taking it as seriously as they should have, because they know the people that were involved, and they're not going to search and investigate it properly or thoroughly all the way. So those things could possibly happen. You know the person in a small town like that, everybody know everybody. They possibly could have known who did it, and they didn't want to divulge, give that person up, so they weren't on top of it as thoroughly as they should have been. Those things could happen. I'm not saying it did, but it just seems very odd and fishy that the person was uncovered quickly, within 30 minutes of the family searching, and the cadaver dogs was out. None of the police, nobody could ever find his body or whatever. It's just very, very eerie. And then also, if he was gone for a month, if he was in that water and stuff for a month, his stuff looked to be, his body didn't look bloated. They described him as looking fresh, like his skin was still dark like it was. It wasn't nothing like, he didn't really look like he had been out there for that long of a time. Even the things in his pockets weren't absolved or dissolved, or everything. His stuff looked to be a little too fresh. Like indicating like possibly he could have been in somebody's freezer or something. Something was preserving his body for him to be, everything to be intact. And then somebody could have possibly placed him out there when it was time for the family to go look for him. And I promise y'all, man, this whole story is just so disheartening. So disheartening. Because, again, no parent want to ever hear that they kid, something happened to their child. No parent in general wants to leave this earth before their own children. And I can imagine the mother like, our son is 23 years old and he's deceased, and nobody has answers for it at all. The people, the police investigating the whole thing, even said, "Hey, we're gonna not rule it as a crime. A hate crime." They were saying a hate crime possibly could have occurred, but we're not gonna. They eventually didn't rule it as a crime until I saw in the Shade Room on Instagram that they're reopening the case now. They're gonna reopen this case. I'm sure with due to a lot of backlash, a lot of people coming out and probably voicing their opinion about it, or probably contacting the police department in Lacine, trying to figure out, hey, let's talk to the sheriff in Lacine. What happened to this young man? What happened to him? Something foul play was definitely a part of this whole thing. Especially when you know the racial slurs were being thrown at him in a direction. There was even talks of him possibly a young Caucasian girl, young white girl was flirting with him at the party, and some guys possibly didn't like that. She was flirting with this young black guy, and his altercation could have been sued or something like that. Some foul play definitely occurred, especially with his shoes off and all of that. Come on, man. But I just speaking to the fact that, man, like, I don't see, like, I couldn't, like, leaving your friend at the party, you came with him, leaving him, and you like, leaving him in somebody else's hands. I couldn't do it. We gotta all leave at the same time. All of us gotta be together. And then once again, like I said before, black people cannot afford to have a laissez-faire attitude to racism. We gotta take it seriously. Absolutely seriously. When I was in school, and I went to school in the Deep South in college. I was in Mississippi, I was in Arkansas, right? When I was in Mississippi, the state of Mississippi got the Confederate flag in its state flag. They're petitioning to take it out. I don't know if they've actually taken it out yet, but I believe they voted to remove the Confederate flag from the Mississippi state flag. Y'all let me know if I'm incorrect with that information. And in Arkansas, I went to a predominantly white institution. And there's a lot of great, cool people, in Jonesboro. But I also noticed that, there were people from these hick towns. There was hick towns in Arkansas where Confederate flags were flying proudly and highly. And it was parts of it, like, I was never going to go to no parties in these towns. I'm going in, I'm the only black dude in here. I'm going to these hick towns where Confederate flags are flying left and right. I just know, it was certain places I was never just going to trust like that, because I know that there were definitely these towns where a lot of racism was occurring in the state of Arkansas, also in the state of Mississippi. And I just was like, me traveling and venturing outside of the campus way out, I couldn't do it because I just like, man, you just never know. You never know. You know what I mean? And it's just so sad, man. I want this family to get justice for real justice, because that's a mother. That I hear that mother, when the mother cursing, she's upset that her baby is gone from this earth, and she's never gonna get over that. She's never gonna get over that. My stepmother, my father, they never got over that. I didn't get over my brother's murder. You know what I'm saying? You learn how to heal, but you don't heal 100%, because the person that you love, the person that you spend all your time with, is no longer on this earth. They're gone. They're deceased, and it's a person that you love that you were seeing every single day of your life. You were seeing this person. They was seeing him every single day, spending all these fond memories with him, all these holidays and celebrations and all of that. That hurts. That hurts, man. And man, it's just crazy, man. When the family found the body within 30 minutes, I could just imagine, like, oh my God, how they felt. Come on, man. It just, man, I'm watching this like, wow, man. Wow. And then too, you know, I don't know, like, what happened, why Justin, I'm trying to figure out why the guy kept going and got the cigarettes, and just, when he after his car got stuck, he just headed home and just said, hey, just bring Alonzo home. Maybe he just trusted that the guy was gonna bring Alonzo home, and he was like, I'm just gonna head home now. But I'm like, man, he should have went back and got him, man. And I'm sure he feels like he should have went back and got him as well, right? But I'm thinking, like, when he said Alonzo started talking mess about him being stuck and getting lost, did he get mad and say, you know what, man, you take him home, whatever the other guy was, you take him home, I'm just gonna head home. I don't know, did he get mad, like Alonzo trying to clown on me for being lost or whatever? Hey, man, you take him home, and you get him home. I don't know, maybe did he get mad at that and was just like, I'm just gonna head home now, whatever, and trusted that the guy was gonna take him home, or I don't know. But the guy basically said that the other guy that he trusted to take Alonzo home said he didn't, I guess something happened. He thought that Alonzo got home some type of way. They missed each other in the party. He thought he got a ride somewhere eventually, and he headed home and went on his own, you know, merry way. But if I'm knowing and I got a friend and people were just throwing racial slurs at him left and right, and you notice the town, they got racism embedded in it, but it's a lot of racism going through this area, you know, and you know he almost got into a fight at some point in that party. They should have got up out of there. You gotta get up out of there. You gotta get up out of there. And I want everybody that got black friends. You know, you're a non-black person, you got black friends, and your friends in a situation like that you gotta take that seriously. You gotta take that shit seriously immediately. Get your friend up out of there. And if you're a black person and you in a situation and your friends ain't taking it seriously, let them know you gotta go. This could be life or death for you. This could be life or death for you, man. And again, in a town like that, when everybody know everybody, their family could be related to law enforcement, and where they can get this stuff covered up, and your family, something can happen to you, your family can't even really uncover what really happened to you. They can't even get justice because too many people are tied into each other. People tied in with law enforcement, tied up with people at the hospitals and coroner's office, all type of, you never know this type of stuff can go on, especially in them little bitty towns, man. So, you know, you got to take that stuff seriously. We can't afford to have no laissez-faire attitude towards racism. We got to take it seriously. When people say, you know, I hear other people, non-black people say, oh man, they act like racism is something that we just take out of proportion, you know, we exaggerate it and we just look too much into it. We got to stop thinking about it. I remember I heard Morgan Freeman say that stupid shit. Don't stop talking about it. If you want racism to end, stop talking about it, you know? No, we're going to keep talking about it because it's something serious. You got to have these conversations with people especially people who are non-black. When you're talking about racism against black folks, they got to understand how serious this can get. You can't take that stuff lightly. You know what I mean? People grow up, they say they don't see color. You got to be aware of the fact that your friend, your black friend, even though y'all all good with them and y'all love them, y'all treat them like y'all friend and all that, you can take them into towns where they not going to care about his well-being. They're not gonna give a damn about him the way you do. They know he black. They were taught to not like black folks. You know, they grew up in that. and they definitely gonna be with it, and something could possibly happen to them. So you gotta understand that, hey, I gotta have a responsibility to not have my friend in this situation, get him up out of here. And if you're black and you in a situation like that, you gotta know, hey, it's time to go. It's time to go, man. And it's just very, very sad, man. This young brother lost his life at 23 years old, a baby, man, a baby, and they still trying to find out what happened to him. 2004. That was 2004 that happened to him, man. For real. That's like what? 2004, 17 years ago? 17 years ago this stuff happened. It's crazy, man. It's just super crazy that the family is still trying to figure out what went down during this situation. Now, I'm not, what is it, 16 years, not 17, 16. My math is off. But, yeah, man, it's just like I hear the pain in that mother's voice. I hear the pain in that mother's voice. You're never going to forget about it. It's never going to be, you can heal as best as possible, but you're never going to be fully healed. The same way my father and my stepmother not, my family not. My brother got killed. My brother wasn't a victim of no racism or nothing like that. But he was murdered though. Murdered unjustly. And you're never gonna, there's things you're never gonna forget, those type of things. So I know that I definitely can feel that mother's pain for sure. But I feel it worse because they don't know what happened. And that his killers have not been brought to justice at all. So, man, but if you haven't watched that episode, it's called, I think, No Ride Home on the Unsolved Mysteries reboot. It's on Netflix. Watch it. And if you have watched it, share your thoughts with me and let me know what you think about it. But I just had to share my thoughts about it, and it's like very, very tragic. Very tragic. Machiavelli Mills TV. Peace.